name's Natalie Young and I'm going to be taking you through a yoga mobility workout today. So this class is going to be suitable for beginners to those who are perhaps more familiar with yoga. So it's multi-purpose. If you've got any little niggles, particularly in your shoulders, in your hips, low back, down the backs of your legs, this session will help to work those out and hopefully have you feeling a lot better once we're done. So we will start with a seated meditation. So often the best place for a meditation position will be seated with legs crossed. So if you have trouble crossing your legs at all, it can sometimes help if you just prop your hips up, perhaps on a big bulky book or something. So if you have one of those to hand, just pop them underneath your seat bones and that can help it feel a little bit better when you cross your legs. So completely optional, but if you feel comfortable sitting on the floor in crossed legs, feel free. Ultimately, if you don't have a book available, you can also sit with the legs out in front as well. So that is also an option that's available. So do listen out for the options. I will be giving them throughout. Now for the beginning of the session now, we're going to come into our meditation. So just sitting up nice and super tall and just closing your eyes or softening your gaze. So what I mean by softening your gaze is just not focusing on anything in particular and just starting to focus in on your breath. So you might have a natural breathing pattern where you tend to inhale in through the nose and out through the mouth. So just begin with that, whatever your natural breathing pattern is. And then on the next few breaths, try and focus on inhaling in through the nose and out through the nose. So this part of our yoga practice, our opening meditation, is really quite important to get ourselves into the right headspace, ready for the physical practice that we're about to do. Helps us to let go of any worries and cares, anything that might hold us back with our physical practice. That's it, nice. Couple more lovely deep breaths here. In through the nose, out through the nose. And last one. And now just raising your gaze and blinking open the eyes if you had your eyes closed, and just sitting up nice and super tall. So think about the length of your spine and also think about the weight through your seat bones. So often when we sit, we will have a preference and sit side to side, and we have one side where there's more weight going through one butt cheek than the other. So if that's you, just bring that into your conscious mind and just sit nice and straight. So try and keep that weight nice and even across both of your seat bones. So sitting up nice and super tall, dropping the shoulders down away from the ears. Taking a nice big inhale up, let's bring those arms up above into a little prayer hand. And then exhaling, hands down to heart center. Lovely. So we're now ready for our physical practice. We're going to come into some side bends first. So just bringing one hand down beside you and take an inhale up and exhale, side bend over. Now always going to the edge of the stretch, so never beyond. We don't want anything to be painful here. That's it. Maybe bending into the elbow a little bit if you want to. One more breath. And then take it through center and we'll side bend the other way. So same thing this side, and just notice if this side feels easier or harder than the other side. Often we do have these preferences highlighted in these side to side poses. Big inhale through center and same side bend the other way. So this time you might choose to look up underneath the armpit, bringing the neck involved, as long as it suits you and it doesn't cause any pain or discomfort. Good. One more breath. And then breathe through center, exhale off to the other side. That's it. Option to look up underneath that armpit. And then big inhale, reach up with both the arms this time, bring the gaze right up to your hands, and then it's a twist. So we're going to exhale and take it round. So just bringing that hand onto the side of the thigh, the opposite hand, and you might look over that back shoulder if that feels good for your neck, of course. Otherwise, just sit tall. That's it. Just breathing, wringing out the rubbish. Big inhale, back up to the center, reach and stretch. And exhale, twist the other way. So once again, opposite hand coming to the side of that thigh. Maybe gazing over that back shoulder. Sitting tall. One more breath. And big inhale, gazing up at the hands. And we twist again for one more each side. So just bringing it around on that exhale. That's it. Think of that lovely tall posture. Inhaling back to center. And exhale, twist. Final time. Keep breathing. Inhaling up to center. And exhale, hands down into your lap. Lovely. So we're going to come into a couple of forward bends next. So we'll leave the legs where they are. If you've got your legs crossed, keep them in this direction, and then we'll change them in a moment. So just starting to come forward. So we're tilting from the hip. So if you've got your legs crossed, then you'll just start to fold from the hip and just start to creep forward. If you've got your legs out in front of you, a little bit like this, you might just rock the weight side to side just to start to tilt the hip, so it's much harder to fold forward from this position because the hamstrings can often be tight, and then take a fold there. So you might find that you can't fold as deep when you've got your legs long. So you can also have a little bend in the knees as well. That helps to ease off the stretch a little bit. That's it. So just coming into your forward bend, keep breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. About your neck here, so we're just gazing down just by the hands and just keeping that neck nice and long, so trying not to look up. One more breath, and then gently from whichever position you're in, just starting to creep back up. If you've got the legs crossed, then switching over the cross of the legs. Now I almost guarantee this will feel strange because often we'll start with our preference. It's normally our dominant side, so if you're right-handed you might find that you feel most comfortable with your right leg in front. So just starting to fold from the hip again. So if you've got your legs out in front of you, then just taking that same fold again, but otherwise legs round the other way and just starting to creep it down. That's it. So just notice on this side where you feel the stretch, and is it different to the first side if you had your legs crossed? So many of us will find that the tension is in the hips with this stretch. And the ancient yogis used to say that we hold lots of emotional tension in our hips. So if you've been a bit stressed, a bit anxious, if lockdown's causing you quite a lot of headaches, then you might find that your hips are pretty tight right now. So if that's the case, don't worry, just breathe. Accept where you are in this moment. Just taking one more breath. And then gently bringing it back up to the center. Gorgeous. Okay, so we're going to come into a little back bend now. So if you've got the legs crossed, then keep them in this position. If you've got the legs out in front, keep them there. So we're just going to bring the hands behind your seat bones. So you might be up on fingertips, or you might have the hands a little bit flatter, just depending on how flexible you are across your chest. Take a big inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, press into those fingers and draw the shoulder blades back towards each other. That's it. So it might be a little stretch, it might be quite a big one. Just start to draw those shoulder blades back towards each other. Keep breathing. That's a lovely opening across the chest. Couple more breaths here. And then gently easing that off. Lovely. So we're going to come onto hands and knees now for a little bit more mobility on hands and knees. So just bringing the hands underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. And we're going to come into what we call child's pose. So from this position, you might want to take the knees just a little bit wider than hip width, and then draw that weight back over your heels. Now, if that's as far as you go, that's absolutely fine. So this is a nice little modified child's pose. If you're a bit more flexible, then feel free to coax that weight down a little bit. So you might just rock side to side just to help your chest come down a little bit. And that's the idea behind bringing the knees just that little bit wider, so you've got room for your chest to come down. So just keep breathing here, and just starting to settle into that pose. And if you find the bend in your knees is a little bit much here, you could always put a little cushion or a blanket just between your thigh and your calf. That's a little modification if you do want to do these at home in the future. You don't have something to hand right now. So just focusing in on the breath, just keep that gaze right down in front of you at the moment. So keeping the neck nice and long, so we don't want to be looking up, and we also don't want to be tucking the chin under so much that we've got the throat. Just inhaling in through the nose, out through the nose. And then on the next exhale, we're going to take a little creep over towards one side of the mat. So just to feel the edge of that stretch. So we don't want to do anything too crazy. We don't want to add any pain or anything. It should just feel like a nice stretch down that side body. That's it. Good. So you might feel that right down the outside of the shoulder, maybe down the arm. You might feel it in your ribs, down the sides of your abdominals. Just breathing. One more breath. And then on the next one, we'll take that little creep back through the center and then take it off to the other side. So just holding there. So again, just noticing if you've got any differences on this side. So does it feel harder or easier, or somewhere in between? This is what yoga is all about, becoming very self-aware. We find out lots about our bodies and also about our emotional thoughts as well. Often we act out things on our mats that we also act out in everyday life. Frustrations come out on our mats too. So just one more breath on this side. And then gently bringing it back to the center. Really sink the weight back over the heels. And think about that weight in your hands. So as you're pushing into the balls of the hands, you might notice the arms get a bit longer and you'll feel a bit more of a stretch down either side of your spine. So that's targeting all those little stabilizer muscles. One more breath here. And then gently bending the elbows, slowly bring it up. That's it. And then just bringing the hands underneath the shoulders and knees under the hips. And we'll come into a little flow called cat and cow next. So as you take your exhale, we're going to draw the belly up underneath and then arch the spine up into a nice little C shape. So just bringing the gaze down between your hands. This is our cat pose. And then inhale, dip the spine down, let the bum come up and the gaze come up. Cow pose. Exhaling, arch it up, angry cat. And inhale, dipping it down. So we'll do a couple more rounds just like this, in line with your own breath. So exhaling as you come up and inhaling as you come down and dip the spine. Once you finish that round, just bringing it back to your tabletop position, and we're going to come into our downward facing dog in a moment. So just spreading the fingers quite wide, you might just move those hands slightly forward, tuck the toes under and take the hips up high and back into a lovely upside down V shape. Now you might notice you need a bit of a bend in the knees here, or you might notice that your heels are right up off the floor. So just honouring your body here and where you are in this moment right now.
beginning to pedal out through the feet. So just dropping each heel down one by one. If you've got tight hamstrings, this is the one for you. That's it. Probably the most well-known yoga pose, this one, downward facing dog. We can use it for rest, we can use it to work, use it for strength, lots of things. So just keeping that inhaling in through the nose, out through the nose going. Just keeping that pedaling going for 3, 2, 1. And then gently dropping those heels right down. Feel that super stretch down the backs of your legs. Good. Okay, so now really drawing your belly in and up underneath your rib cage. So it's almost as if you're zipping up a tight pair of jeans. Bring that gaze back towards your feet, and we'll take a little walk with the hands. Just bring the hands back towards you. You might bend the knees quite deeply here, bringing yourself into a forward fold. So if you can't get the hands down to the floor, then you might want to bend the knees a little bit more, or you could have the hands just hanging out on the lower parts of the legs, and then that helps you to get a bit more of a stretch into the backs of the legs as well. So just finding where you want to be for today. And that's it. And you just breathe, draw the nose down towards the knees. Option to stay here, or bringing it into a ragdoll fold. So just coupling opposite elbows, just allowing that upper body to be super heavy. Still bracing the belly. Good. Just having a beautiful breath here. Last one. And then when you're ready, bracing the belly a little more, bend the knees a tiny bit, and stacking vertebra by vertebra, we're going to slowly start to rise all the way back up to centre. And then when you feel a bit more human and the blood's returned to the rest of your body, take a nice big inhale up with the arms, bring your gaze up to those palms, and then exhale, hands down to heart centre. So we'll take that one more time just to finish our practice. Take a gorgeous inhale of energy, bring it in and up, gaze up to your palms, and exhale, hands to heart center, shoulders dropping back and down in the face. And namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you feel better now. Bye.